Hi everyone, my name is Ray Thomas. I am the Research Education Lead for the Tropical Australian Academic Health Centre. We really like bringing these opportunities to you, and Matt's going to talk today about abstract and poster development. Before we get started today, I'd like to acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders as this country's First Nations people. We recognise First Nation people and communities as traditional and cultural custodians of the lands on which we live and work, and we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So just a little bit about TAAHC for those of you who do not know about TAAHC, and that is not acceptable. The Tropical Australian Academic Health Centre is one of 12 research translation centres that has been accredited by the National Health and Medical Research Council. And we are potentially one of, I think it's about 6 of the rural and remote research centres. There's a number of different things we can do, and you need to tap into us at any time. If you have any questions, just give me an email and we can have a chat about what TAAHC does. But we do a lot of research and research translation training. We do study design and support, so we help you with what the right method might be for your research question. We have a team of statisticians who help with statistical consultations and analyses. And we also train across all these things too. So we're not just doing it for you, we're helping you with the tricky stuff, but we're teaching you how to do the more easy stuff as well. And then we'll have grant funding, and we'll announce a grant round highly likely towards the end of July this year, and we're working on that. But if you haven't heard of any of us, this is us here at our website. So please get in touch and we will help you out. But today we are all about talking with Matt. Matthew is a principal research fellow at Mackay HHS. He's worked clinically as a dietitian for 10 years before doing a PhD, investigating nutrition and pharmacology in neurotrauma and neurodegenerative conditions. Now, as part of his role in Mackay HHS, he also builds research capability and capacity in the clinical workforce. So, Matt, I'm going to stop sharing, and it is now over to you.
Thanks, Ray, and I'll share my slides. Go to the first slide. How are we going? Can everyone see that all right? Thumbs up from Ray. Thanks, Ray. Well, it's great to be here this afternoon.
Do you want to put it on presenter view?
Oh, yes.
Yep, cool.
Are we good?
Number 1, no, not yet. Actually, I think I'm on slide. Yep, perfect.
Good here. Yep. All right. Yes, so my name's Matt, and I work at Mackay HHS, which is a TAAHC partner, and it's great to be bringing this content to you this afternoon. One of the things that I spend a lot of my time doing is developing novice researchers, clinicians who are wanting to get involved in research, and I guess the idea for this presentation has come from some of the skills that we'd like to sort of be seeing here in Mackay, and it's great to be able to share this more broadly across different partners. So I'm hoping that this will be a useful presentation today for those who are probably in the initial stages of considering these sorts of things. You know, how to put an abstract in, what might need to be considered with a poster. If you've done a little bit of this work in the past, there'll still be hopefully things that you'll be able to get out of this, but this is probably grounded, I guess, for those who are maybe starting out. So please, as we go through, pop your hand up in the chat, or if there's any questions that you have, let me know. And I've also got my offsider, Meg Adam, who works alongside me at Mackay HHS. She's on the call as well, along with Ray as well. And Meg might help with some of the alert me to questions in the chat, or maybe we can tap into Meg's experience as well as we go through the presentation. So it is going to do what it says on the tin. We're going to be looking at abstracts and posters and providing some tips around each of those. We're going to hit on abstracts to start off with, and then the second half of the session is going to get into posters. And so your journey so far might be you've run a project and you've got your data and you've got some exciting findings that you would like to share with some networks. And maybe you've identified a conference that's going to be a great forum for matching the sorts of data that you have, and the themes of the conference are exactly in line with where you want to be sharing this. What next? Where do you go? And so the conference website will have an abstract submission section on it, and that's going to be your portal, your invitation into getting your work up in that particular conference. So what do you do from there? That's where we're gonna start. So there's going to be a few different things that you want your abstract to be able to do. And I'm going to talk about the storytelling of research over the next hour or so as well, what it means to tell a good story, to target your story, to make sure that it's the sort of thing that the audience, that the reader of the poster, when we get to posters, that it's in line with what their interests are. We want abstracts to be concise as well. So you might have spent a year or two or whatever undertaking all sorts of elements of this research, and it's you know this work inside and out, and there's all sorts of decisions that you've made along the way, but an abstract is probably not the chance to tell all of those details. There's a certain level of conciseness that you're going to have to build into what you select to present in this abstract. Like we said, you want to pitch to the audience, making sure that it aligns with the particular conference themes, etc. Each conference is going to let you know what their instructions are, what their rules are around submission. Typical is going to be a 250 word or less abstract. Some are a little bit more lenient. 300 is another common threshold that you'll see. All are going to have a similar structure, similar layout. So there's going to be a similar set of rules for abstracts that you can expect to abide by from one conference to another. Importantly, you're not going to be including any references in an abstract, which surprises some first-time presenters, first-time abstract writers, and we want to avoid abbreviations and acronyms. Of course, we want to spell check and grammar check. We don't want to fall over at a point like that. And it can be helpful to get someone who's naive to the area that you're working in to give it a read and just make sure that it makes sense to a lay audience. Oftentimes for particularly larger conferences, there will be not a lay audience, but the panel who are assessing the abstract may not have the exact set of clinical knowledge or background to know all of the details of what it is that your research is talking about. So you want to make sure that you're able to communicate that to an audience who maybe aren't experts. So like I said, structure is going to be the same for abstracts. Across the board primarily, and we're going to get into the details of what some of these elements are, and we're going to do a little activity as well. I'm hoping that we can make this interactive. It is, after all, a TAAHC Prac, so hopefully we can get some Prac elements built in here, and also as we go through, just be thinking, if you want to, I'm open, and I'm sure, Ray, I haven't been to a TAAHC Prac before, I must admit, but I'm sure that Ray is open as well. If someone wants to share their work, we can work through some of the nuances of a particular abstract that maybe you're working on at the moment as well. If you're brave enough to do something like that, we can share your work and maybe workshop it a little bit. If there's any particular questions that you have. Of course, if no one has that, that's fine. I've got one that we can work through as well. So we're going to have a title, a background. We're going to build in the rationale. We're going to hit on the methods, talk about the results, and then we'll round out our abstract with the conclusions, which is going to be the key takeaways, the implications for practice. So let's talk through what some of those elements might entail. There's no hard and fast rules when it comes to titles, but a good set of principles that you might want to abide by. And when you were first designing your research, way back at the beginning, you would have thought about some of these PICO elements. And so we're not going to get into the details of PICO, but you can see what that entails up on the screen there. So we've got our population, our intervention, our comparison, if that's applicable, and then the outcome. And so it's useful in making the title as informative as possible to build in these elements to the title, and we can also make the title fun and make it sort of pop as well. I've also got to just take a quick pause to make mention of the fact that I've adapted these slides from research that was shared by my offsider up in Cairns, who does the same job as me up in Cairns, Kath McFarlane. So many thanks to Kath for allowing me to take her presentation and adapt it. And Kath has come up with a helpful little example that we'll work through for the first couple here. So the project to illustrate this concept is around this idea of pink milk and an intervention of pink milk, and whether that helps alleviate symptoms of hiccups for Cairns school children. So you can see the elements of the PICO in that title there, and the construction of that with the color coding there. And so the question that we would come up with, or rather the title that we would come up with if we're going to use these elements would be "Pink milk stops hiccups faster than white milk in Cairns school children." So that would be an effective title that would convey all of those different elements. You could jazz that up and you could make it more exciting than that, but that's going to be an efficient way of communicating the study objectives. If we're getting into the body of the abstract, we are now going to first section that we're going to be hitting on is this background. And so this is going to be where we're talking through what's known about the topic, what are some of what's the nature of the impact of the problem, what are we trying to do to understand or solve this problem, why did we do this problem? So some of those different elements. So we're really outlining the major considerations for why we've decided to undertake this. We have fairly limited text to be able to do this. So we want to be efficient with this in the same way as for manuscript writing, when you're writing the background of the manuscript, you want to start broad and as you go through, hone in more specifically on what exactly it was that you did and why you did it, until you come to that sort of aim statement that really launches you into the methods of what you did. So it's sort of that upside down triangle idea of starting broad and getting more and more specific. With our pink milk example, a background section that might work for this sort of a study is as follows in green. Hiccuping occurs at least daily for Cairns children aged between 6 and 10 years. This disrupts their concentration at school. While milk is known to stop hiccups, it's not known whether pink or white milk works faster. To improve concentration at school, the aim of this project was to determine whether pink or white milk works faster for Cairns school children. So you can see those principles there. We're starting really broad, and then we're working our way down into that specific question, or that aim of what the study is. And I might just throw to the group just briefly, make sure everyone's going okay. Anyone have anything that they want to chip in and say at this particular stage? Everyone's happy? All right, we will continue. A word on the background. We want to, like we said earlier, we want to link this into the conference themes as well. This is an opportunity to really highlight the relevance of the work that we've done, and why this is something that should be presented at this particular conference. So so we can score some extra points here, maybe key in on some of the words or phrases or themes that the conference has used. So then we move to the methods. No surprises there. So we've talked about why we're doing the study. Now we're talking about what it is that we're doing. So how do we go about addressing whatever the question is that we had identified? And this is a chance for us to get specific around those methods. But of course, again, we've got word limitations, so we're not going to be able to dive into a huge amount of detail. For our Cairns student milk drinking RCT, this is what we've got. A randomized control trial was conducted with 60 children across 4 schools over a 6-month period. Each child was randomly allocated to receive either 1, pink milk, or 2, white milk, in the event that they began hiccuping. Hiccuping episodes were per day and seconds. Hiccuping episodes per day and seconds between consuming milk and ceasing hiccuping were measured. There we go. So there we have the study design. We've got the total cohort. We've got the period of time that the study was run in. We've got the groups so this is a randomized control trial, where we've got allocations into different groups, and we've told what those groups are. We've got some of the measures as well of what it is, how we were measuring and assessing differences between groups. There we go. So then we move on to our results. So of course we want to tell what happened. What did we find? So for this study, we're reporting. We're not going into a huge amount of detail here. We're really coming back to those differences between groups in this particular example. So the text that we've got here is as follows. The children who had pink milk stopped hiccuping in less than 1 minute. So that was our intervention group. The children who had white milk took between 2 minutes and 10 minutes to stop hiccuping. Cairns school children respond faster to pink rather than white milk to alleviate hiccuping. So I've got a summary sentence there. This might be an opportunity where we could talk through if we had done formal hypothesis testing, if we had tests that were measuring differences between groups, we might talk about some of those sorts of elements here. We can be diving into that level of detail. For this example, we haven't got that in there, but worth considering. then we've got our conclusion section. So unlike a manuscript, we talk through all sorts of details, drawing in other literature in the discussion. We don't have a section as such in a typical abstract, but what we do have is this conclusions, and this is where we're taking those take-home messages. What does this mean for practice? What do we need to do in terms of practice or changes? What are the key things that we want people to take out of this study? We want to take between 3 and 5 points and a handful of sentences to really summarize this for people. So for our study here, we could write the following. Pink milk is to be supplied routinely at Cairns primary schools. Cairns school orders will be updated to ensure pink milk is always available. And we want to provide pink milk for Cairns school-aged children who have hiccups. They would be the heavy-hitting points that we want to finish our abstract with. And there you have it. That's a concise abstract that we can use as a bit of a guide and understand some of those components. So, does anyone have an abstract that they're currently working on that they're brave enough to share that they'd like to work through? And I'm anticipating the answer will be no, but I'm happy for surprises.
There are so many conferences happening at the moment. Surely someone's got something they want to work on.
Absolutely.
I've got one, but it's one I've already submitted though. But it's for an NEP, the Nurse Education Conference.
Uh-huh.
So I've already submitted it. I'm just looking at it. It's a bit different. Like it's not a clear qualitative or quantitative study, so it's a bit different to not as clear. Like I used a little bit of Pico to write it up, but it's more theoretical at the moment. Yeah.
Yep. No worries. Well, maybe what I'll do is I'll pop up the one that I have written, because what I've done with this one is built in some. I've made it pretty poor by design. I've put lots of errors in here, and I'd really like to get everyone's thoughts on how on earth we can improve this terrible abstract that is sure to get rejected from a conference. So should we do that?
Exciting. Yes.
Yep. All right. And it's all on one slide, but I'm hoping that everyone's got sufficient access to screens that they can see it. Can everyone read that okay?
Not yet through.
Just flag.
The heading.
Flag. Oh, it's a bit slow, is it?
Yeah.
Oops, now I've skipped ahead. Must be a bit of lag. Has it popped up?
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
Now it has. Yep.
Okay, we're good. All right. So like I said, I've tried to do two things: make this a project that's really accessible for everyone. It's the sort of stuff that isn't too highly technical, but also each of these sections has lots to work on. On face value, it looks fine. It's got all the headings and things that we need. But I'll be interested to hear each of your thoughts around how we can improve it. So maybe we can work section by section through, and you can tell me what you think, and I can just read it out as we go. So I'm wondering if I should read the whole thing first. I'll do the title and background. We can go title and background and then work our way through. How's that?
Yep.
So we've got improving patient flow through a new hospital discharge communication process. The background is as follows. Hospital discharge is an important part of patient care and can affect patient safety, patient satisfaction, hospital efficiency, readmission rates, staff workload, and communication between hospital teams and general practitioners. At our hospital, there have been ongoing concerns that discharge summaries are not always completed quickly, and patients and families have reported that they sometimes feel uncertain about what to do after leaving hospital. Delayed discharges are a major issue across the health system and can result in unnecessary bed block, ambulance ramping, poor patient outcomes, and increased costs. We therefore introduced a new discharge communication process to improve patient flow and patient experience. Okay, I'll give you a moment to digest that. Maybe I'll even give you a whole minute to digest that. And maybe if you've got a notebook or something next to you, jot down a few different ideas of some improvements that we could make to this, and then we might throw to some comments. How does that sound? All right. Does anyone want to kick us off? Maybe if we just touch on the title to begin with. What do we think about the title? Have we done an effective job in getting the conference committee excited about our work? Have we effectively communicated the details of our study? I don't think so either. Ray's saying no. Anyone want to jump in and give some thoughts why it's not a great title?
I guess the first couple of words are okay. Improving patient flow is what you set out to do. So I guess that's okay, but the rest doesn't, well, yeah, as you said, it's not very exciting. It doesn't really say how you did what you did. I guess it sort of says what you did in that you introduced a new hospital discharge communication process. But there's not very much how in there, maybe. But...
Yep. I think so. It's pretty vague. It's pretty low on the details. It's not really talking through some of the, if we're thinking about the elements that we want to build in there, it's not talking about like, was there a particular ward or hospital, or what are the details around who this study was run in. So yeah, it's probably overpromising as well. We're going to get, we haven't got to the results here yet. But in leading off with improving patient flow, it may be a more accurate way of not overpromising the findings of the study. Could be something along the lines of, an evaluation of a discharge communication process. It's rather than saying, we have improved patient flow. We're sort of leading the audience a little bit here with some of those findings. So, okay, so that's the background. That's the title. Anyone for the background? Any thoughts there? It's very long, right? There's a lot there. And as we said earlier, this is an opportunity for a concise communication of a project. We've got all sorts of rationale thrown in here for, we've got a huge list of problems, patient safety and satisfaction and efficiency and readmissions and workloads and communication and bed block and ambulance ramping and all sorts of different things here. In a conference abstract, there's probably too much there. We really need to hone in on a few things in the background, sort of answering what's the problem, why does it matter, and what's the local context around it? What are we really getting specific around some of those sorts of details.
I think it's a really interesting thing too, Matt, about when you're really passionate about something, you really want to tell people all about it, and you want to tell them everything you know all about it, because let's face it, if you get to this stage, you've spent at least a year or plus working on this project. So you really want to tell everyone all about it. What I really liked about your slide earlier about that, about the background section that you were looking at, it, like you said, it was short, right? It almost had one sentence for every point that you had there. This one doesn't really follow your funnel either, right? It starts off big, and then it gets to my hospital, which comes down small, and it goes, it's a really big problem. So it's kind of like this corseted effect. So it's kind of like you need to swap things around and reduce it. But yeah, I can see how people really want to let you know about their stuff.
Yep. And on face value, this is probably the, no judgment or anything, but this is the typical thing that kind of comes to me, and people have written this thing about something that they want to share with the world, and you're exactly right. There's so much passion and so much time that's been poured into it, and they tell you everything, but it's really around that conciseness and that very precise communication of what are the key things that we're really interested in. And of course, we haven't got there yet, but linking the background with the methods. So we've got all of these different elements, readmission rates, workload, all of those sorts of things. And I think it's probably fine to be keeping the things that we then study in the study, but really making sure that those measures, if we've used it as a measure in the study, if we've got data around it in the results, then sure, keep it in the background. But if it's external to that, then it's really just slash it. It's going to be steering the audience in a direction that they're studying. Okay, so let's read the next section. We've got the aim to evaluate whether, I'm just going to move my box out of the way so I can see it, to evaluate whether a new discharge communication checklist improved discharge communication, patient flow, staff satisfaction, and readmission outcomes. And maybe I won't throw to the group for this one, but probably just saying, in the design of your study, you hopefully would have had one clear primary aim, and maybe some secondary aims. But this is probably an opportunity to really hone in on, rather than each of these things, to communicate that effectively. What is that one primary aim? So then for the methods, a new checklist was introduced on 2 general medical wards. Staff were encouraged to use the checklist before patients were discharged. The checklist included confirmation that the discharge summary was completed, medications were explained, follow-up appointments were arranged, and the patient had the opportunity to ask questions. Data were collected before and after the intervention. We compared discharge times, completion of discharge summaries, patient satisfaction, staff feedback, and hospital readmissions. Data were analysed using descriptive statistics and inferential testing where appropriate. I'll give you another minute, perhaps to mull over the methods, and then we can chat. Okay, does anyone want to jump in with things that you think should be here that are not, or maybe things that are here that could get cut?
Well, again, the first sentence is not too bad. You've said what the intervention was, that you introduced a new checklist. Probably could have cut out all of the middle section and just skipped straight to the data that was collected before and after. I don't know what descriptive statistics are, so I'm not sure whether that is suitable to use or not, but maybe there could have been a little bit more information about what data you collected and how you analysed it, possibly.
Yep, I agree with all of that. That's great. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, Kylie in the chat said it could be more chronological.
Yep.
Kylie, pop your microphone on, mate. All good. You've put two things in the chat and we've missed the first one and we've seen the second one.
I'm guaranteed to miss things in the chat, absolutely. But yes, absolutely. I think that being specific here around what the study period was is going to be useful, and understanding what do we mean by before and after intervention? What are we talking here? What period of time, and how long was the intervention put in place? Some of those sorts of details. And again, it's a bit of an art in terms of getting the details within the word limit, but yeah, it's around that balance between cutting the fluff and really getting into the specifics of what's required. Absolutely agree with what Catherine said around some more detail around those analysis methods. If we're going to be talking about analysis methods, it's probably worth again maybe just giving a little bit more detail there. How were these outcomes measured? A little bit of detail could be worth including there as well. All right, let's move on. We won't labor this one too much longer. We'll do the results and conclusion, and then we can progress. So following implementation, discharge communication appeared to improve. Staff reported that the checklist was useful and helped them remember key tasks. Patients also seemed more satisfied with the discharge process. Discharge summaries were completed more frequently and discharge delays were reduced. Readmission rates did not appear to increase. The intervention was simple, low cost, and acceptable to staff. And then our conclusion: the discharge communication checklist improved discharge processes and may have contributed to better patient experience and hospital flow. This intervention could be implemented more broadly across other hospital wards and may help address system-wide patient flow challenges.
You've suddenly become very qualitative after your method looked very quantitative. So it's all about patient satisfaction and staff reporting and things. Where are the numbers? And it's also become very vague and appeared more, seemed more satisfied, appeared to improve, did not appear to increase. Where are the numbers?
Where are the numbers?
Yes,
Catherine,
yep,
that's exactly mine. Where are the numbers?
That's a very easy thing to measure. Did your readmission rates decrease or not? Patient satisfaction might be a little bit harder, but there's always Likert scales if you want numbers. Discharge summaries were completed more frequently. I guess you've been definitive there, which is good. And staff reported the checklist was useful. Again, that's a bit more qual, but it's suddenly gone very vague.
Yes, yep. Yep.
It feels
absolutely.
like Matt helped these guys with the protocol when they were doing the method section, and they fell apart because they didn't know what to do with the results. One kilometre.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. And part of that was laziness on my part in writing this thing, because I didn't want to have to make up numbers. I could just but you're 100%. We like the results is where we're reporting specifically what's, what this is an RCT. Yeah, sorry, this is not an RCT. This is a before and after type project. We can hone in on those details. We've set it up to be able to compare directly across time periods. So we need to be doing that. And we've talked about the fact that we're going to be doing inferential testing. So what are those? What are those stats? Let's see those.
Lisa's commented on the same, that it wasn't very specific with the appeared to.
Yes. Yep. Try and avoid that sort of language. Probably as an aside, there will be times when so certain conferences will allow abstracts to be submitted in the absence of results, in the anticipation of those results being available prior to the conference. And so there's a specific way of writing that, I guess, and we don't need to get into those details, but just awareness of that fact, and just being explicit in that. Okay. Anything else that anyone can see here that they want to take out of this? I sort of feel as though the conclusion, obviously we don't have results to really definitively, the results are vague, and the conclusion is quite definitive, so that does match. That we're sort of talking about the fact that this checklist did improve discharge processes. We would need hard and fast numbers to be able to make strong claims there, I guess. So making sure that matches. How's that sounding? Should we move on? Righto. Let's switch gears then. So we've written our abstract, and we've heard back from the conference, and they loved our abstract. We did all those things that we had talked about, right? And we've been accepted to present, to have a poster at the conference. And so now we move on to the construction of this poster. So what are the key considerations that we want to be thinking about? So we're going to talk about what info to cover, how it should be laid out, some design sort of considerations. We want to make sure this thing pops and people are seeing our work. We want to get our work as much profile as possible. And you've probably been to conferences, and you've probably walked around poster halls, and you probably have some thoughts around how people read posters as well. But the analysis, when people sort of analyze these processes, there's very little time that's actually spent looking at posters. So we want to draw people in and maximize this. And this is the flow around how people do it. They'll read the title, then they'll jump to the conclusions, and at each of these steps, if they lose interest, then you've lost them. So they want to know in a really digestible sort of way.
Sorry, Matt, you're breaking up a bit.
Is it still loading?
Yeah, so we're still on the.
Sorry, guys.
The abstract example.
Oh, really? Okay. It's sorry, it's lagging quite a bit. I might turn off my camera in case that helps things.
We can see poster presentation tips now. Yep.
Great. Okay. are you on the how people read posters slide?
We are. Yep.
Great. Okay. So read the title, read the conclusions. Hopefully you haven't lost them at this point. Hopefully they haven't moved on to the next one. Then typically the analysis says that they will move to the graphs. They'll look at the figures, will be the next thing that they'll look at. And they want to see if they can understand those quickly. They want to just immediately grasp the details of those key findings. They'll be looking at some of the effects from the intervention symbols, etc. And then if you've still got them at that point, then they'll probably go back to the start and then do a more thorough reading of the poster. That's the progression of people through a poster. So obviously this highlights to us the strategy that we need to really be making sure that people are staying with our work. And so that's what we'll talk through with the design stuff here. So we want to make sure it's obvious stuff. We want to make sure that it catches the eye, that it's clear and simple, that it's easy to read, that it's got logical flow, that it's relevant to the viewers, and that it's visual. And all of that is pretty obvious, but it's astounding how many posters you'll walk through, where once again people have spent years on this project. It's their baby, so much time and passion, and they just pump it full of, there's just text everywhere and tiny little figures. They just want everything on there. They want to give you every last detail, and you can't, you're not absorbed by that. You can't process that, and oftentimes you'll lose you and you'll walk right past.
Excuse me, Matt. Are we supposed to be on how people read posters still?
I've just hit the next slide. We're
Cool.
on what's the story. Yep. Thank you. So we want to emphasize the story. We want to focus on one or two key messages. Like I said, we don't want to overcrowd the poster. We want to avoid that tendency for putting every last piece of text in there. We want to keep it simple, make sure that only the main messages are in there that we want to convey, and those main messages we want to put in a visual sort of way so that they jump off the poster, so that they're the things that jump out to the person in that first 10 seconds when they're glancing over it, that are really there to attract the eye.
Hey, Matt, we haven't seen the story slide yet. We haven't seen the story slide yet. Have you got an opportunity to email me your slides and I can do it for you if you want?
Yeah, sure. Yep. Sorry about that. I don't know.
No,
I don't know why it's lagging
just
so much.
something odd's happening, but yes.
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
yep.
you've hit the button, but we haven't seen the button change.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Yeah, well, maybe I'll stop sharing for a moment.
Give us a sec, guys, and we will fix this.
Yep. Or is there another way for me to share that's going to jump it there more quickly?
Is anybody on the line more tech savvy than me? Because that would not be challenging.
No, I think only if Ray or I tried, I think.
From
or at least
PowerPoint straight to
to
Teams.
So go into the PowerPoint and
share it from the PowerPoint rather than share from the Teams. Is that what you mean?
Sorry, I'll just speak just in case. Yeah, a bit easier. Most new versions of PowerPoint have a button sort of up the top that says share to Teams.
Oh.
Okay.
Some of the old versions don't though, but for me, it's in the top right corner.
Yeah, in the top right corner, there's one that says present in Teams. Well then.
Present in Teams.
You got that on yours, Matt?
No,
it's next to the share button.
Oh, it's next to the share button. I've got a frosted out record button and a comments button.
No,
sorry,
it's
guys.
next to the record button.
I'll email Ray. I'll email it to you.
I'm here.
Sorry, everyone.
All right. I don't want to miss the story slide or any other slides. I'm in for the story.
What's the story?
What's the story?
Yeah, it's heading your way.
Okay. I'm sitting here. I'm hanging on. Sorry, guys, still waiting. So how many of you, while we're still waiting, I don't want to take this off. While we're still waiting though, I know that Amy, you have submitted an abstract to a conference. How many others of you have actually done that? Kylie, I'm assuming you have. I know Catherine would have done so. What about you, Lisa? Have you submitted an abstract? Yes, Louise has. Tell us all. Star. Star,
Tracy
have you
as
got an
well.
idea? Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't realize you were waiting for me. Yes, I did submit an abstract to an Australasian conference in infection control.
Yeah. And what was it like for you? Did it get accepted?
Oh no, I've only just submitted it, so I'm still waiting.
Fair enough. Okay. Well,
And
good
it's
luck.
my first one too, so
Haha.
who knows?
Excellent. I'm still waiting for Matt's, but while I'm waiting for Matt's, I'm also going to share my screen. I was going to do this at the last, but I won't. I'll do it now because, oh, that's a bit silly. Because I have a conference that I want to show you about. So you can all submit to this conference. Oh, here's Matt's now. Okay, hang on a sec. I'll grab Matt's first, and then I can do this at the end. There we go. What slide are we up to, Matt?
Good
Got it.
question. We are
15?
15, yes.
Here I come. You'll just have to do the dreaded next slide, please.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can deal with it. All right, here we go, guys. Go.
Yep. Okay, thank you. That's great. So actually we're 16. We're the next one. What's the story? Here we go. So we don't want to overcrowd the poster. Like I was saying, we want to keep it simple. We want to hone in on those main messages and keep it visual. Let's go to the next one. And here's the structure, and this is very similar, obviously, to the structure of our abstract, with a few key differences. So we've still got title, intro, methods, results, conclusions, but now we are also putting in some references, and these are fairly minimal. And it's also good to put in contact details, as when we're presenting at a conference, this poster is our calling card, and we want, as people are roaming around the poster hall, we want them to recognize quality work and get in touch with you. So make sure that you put email address, etc., in there. If you go to the next one, Ray. Now, while the content is, while the headings are the same, the content of what these sections are going to be can be it should be dramatically different to the abstract. So again, the tendency is just all the text that you put in the abstract, just keeping that the same, just sort of cut and paste and put it on the poster. But there's a much better way of sort of presenting the methods or the results or some of those sorts of things than just text. So feel free to adapt that text, to remove as much text as you can to keep it a visual sort of medium. Yep, next slide. Some tips on titles. try and avoid capital case. It's hard to, the brain has a hard time reading it. You're going to lose people. You know, if the title is the first thing that people are doing, reading the title, and you lose them, you know, they just can't quite catch the title in 5 seconds, you've lost them already. So just use sentence case, something that's really easy to read. Next slide.
Can I just say, I've never thought about that before, but at the instant I tried to read the top dot point, I found it much harder.
Yeah.
That's fair. I never did that.
It's a good little test case, isn't it?
That's really cool. This is a great slide.
Which of the three is easiest to read? I think the bottom text.
I do.
Yep. Headings, I mean, we're not going to get creative with the headings, but make sure that the headings are easy to navigate, not in weird places, exactly where they should be. We'll talk about you know, balancing on the slides later, but bite size and appropriate for the headings. We can go to the next slide. Like we said, we want to be stripping out as much of the text. People aren't going to be standing there reading, and so try and get rid of it, and use whatever strategy that you can. So remove some of the connectors. Make sure they're not long, flowy sentences. Bullet points are good. Text boxes. Don't bundle text near each other, so that it's unclear, you know, how one set of text interrelates with another one. You want some negative space, so that the eye is sort of drawn to the really relevant places where you need to be reading. Next slide. Font is another consideration. Go with the sans serif font is going to be the clearest way to go, and there are some examples for you. Just, you know, don't go too creative. Just stick with the classics. Next slide. Font size. This is a helpful little guide around sizing. So again, you know, a delegate reading your poster at a conference is probably going to be standing 2 meters away from the poster. And
sorry, Catherine Seaton says Comic Sans is a crime.
Did I have Comic Sans in my slide? Can you back up for a minute?
I can. It's there. There it
It's
is,
there.
because it is a sans serif font. You are right, but Catherine
Yeah,
Seaton is
yeah.
also right.
Yeah.
It is a crime.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, I'm I'm going to leave that one. Sizing of font, really important. Here's some guides for you. And please be consistent with sizing across, you know, for body text. Make sure it's all the same. It sounds really obvious, but the number of posters that you walk through and they've just got it wrong. You know, the body text is different variants of itself. It's the easiest way to look amateur. So you know, try and just do a proof look at that. And while we're talking about proof looks, you know, send it to a colleague as well, and get someone to eye it over. You know, by the time you've looked at this thing for 10 hours, you're going to be missing some of those sorts of details. So share it with a colleague. Like we said, this is going to be your calling card, and so one idea that a colleague has had is to have it available as a PDF, so that you can either share it with anyone who's interested, or you can have it up as a QR code, so that people can scan the QR code and either access the poster immediately, or maybe access the study website, etc. You know, that interaction is key. This is your foot in the door to having conversations with other researchers. Next slide. And so if we're cutting out text, then obviously figures and graphics are going to be our go-to, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing this really effectively. And in the same way as we've talked about cut out text. We don't need every figure. If there's a paper that you're developing, we don't need every figure from that paper. What's the story that we're trying to tell with this particular with this conference presentation? Let's hone in on maybe one or two really key figures around that, and leave the other ones for later. And color is going to be a really great way to highlight and visualize some of the key points within this as well. If you can go to the next slide, we talk a little bit more about color. There was a poster that I marked a couple of years ago for our annual poster competition that we just run in the hospital, and it was all over the place with color. I'm not sure if the person was joking or colorblind or just really enthusiastic, but it was impressive. So don't do that. Use color appropriately, and make sure that it's a tool that you can highlight key messages and not detract. Use the right sort of color combos. Obviously, pale on dark and vice versa is going to be the way to go there. Next slide. So like we said before, there's going to be referencing that you'll now be doing in your poster. The most efficient way of doing this is Vancouver, because Vancouver is going to be a number-based referencing style. You're not going to have to put author and date in there. And if text if it's all about text and real estate and being efficient, Vancouver is going to be your method of doing that. So learn the details around how to do that, and that'll save you some space as well. Next slide. Some of the things that we absolutely need, obviously organizational logos, etc. There's a place where you can download that if you're not sure from the Queensland government side of things. Like we said, your contact details, they're going to be just the usual standard things that you need in there. Next slide. And then so they're all the nuts and bolts, I guess, of the things that we need to put together with it all. But how all of that comes together on the page is really important as well. And so, it's the combination of those section headers and the bullet points and the negative space and the imaging and the use of color, and the simple graphs in a balanced sort of way. They're going to be the sorts of things to consider. So the next couple of slides just give a few different ideas around that. If you jump to the next slide, Ray. This can be a useful sort of template to work with. There's some on the next page as well, but as you can imagine, in each of these examples, there's a balance sort of element to it. There's I would tend to say the one on the right here at the screen at the moment is too text heavy. Well, actually, no, that's why I've got on there. This is making not such a great scientific poster is the one on the right, versus making a great scientific poster on the left. So the one on the right, we've got lots of text. We've got inconsistencies with the spacing of that text. We've got misalignment with those text blocks. The figures are small, tucked down the bottom, sort of afterthoughts. Not immediately interpretable. We've got the figure in the right-hand poster on the far right-hand side has got lots of things going on there with a great big, and each of them have great big captions telling you the details of what it's all supposed to mean. There's a lot of things that are just going to make you keep walking. It's too hard to engage with, too hard to really get much out of, and so you you're just going to give up in a hall full of, with 100 posters on it. You're just going to walk to the next one. Whereas the one on the left-hand side, it's probably not a fantastic standout sort of interesting poster, but it's doing some of those basic things right. It hasn't overdone much of the text, although I'd say that the background is probably pretty heavy on text. At least what they've done with the methods is sort of dot pointed that. They've tried to incorporate larger figures with color. They've tried to, looks like, get some of that background information as that figure that's sort of illustrating more of the pathology of what's going on there. So some of those sorts of ideas are flowing through there. I might pause there and see if anyone's got any thoughts momentarily around these and the previous slide as well. Anything that stands out? Not so much. That's okay. Ray, could you even just backtrack to that previous slide? Yeah, that's the one. Yep. This is probably for me the best example. We don't have any figures in here yet. This is just kind of how to set it out. But you've got a big title, it's standout title, easy to engage with. You've got a key message in a different coloured text box, sort of right in the middle there where you'd put your key message. Really limited text. You'd want to have some good figures sort of dispersed around there to break up that text as well. But something along these lines is probably a good starting point, I would say.
It's really interesting. They say in the top bit, it says, do not put logos here. Doing so crowds the title and visually distracts. But that's where most people put the logos. What are people's thoughts on that? Kylie, you're busting to say something. Come on, tell me about it.
Oh, I'm not busting, but I feel
You are.
obliged.
Good job.
To be honest, it's probably my last thought. Where can I squeeze this obligatory content? And usually that's the only spot left, is somewhere around the title.
It certainly has acknowledgements down the bottom, which I guess you could put something down there. But that's really interesting. Usually the logos go smack at the top. But I like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. I think I've just got a handful of slides to sort of continue with. If you jump that one and move to the next one. Yep, just some considerations. Make sure that the conference is going to have the specifications for what you need to adhere to there. So check that. And there's ways of setting that up, in PowerPoint if that's what you're using. Although maybe I'm the only one that still uses PowerPoint. I'm not sure.
What other platforms are there? I haven't done a poster in a very long time.
Yeah, I feel like people are using Canva more and more. But
yeah, I was going to say Canva.
Okay.
Yep. Next slide. Like we said, get someone to check it. Without fail, it's the check that I do after it's been printed, where I turn up the typo that should have been identified. It's always when you get it back and you see it in real life, and that's just part of it. So get some checking before final printing. Next slide. Just some really practical stuff. There's always going to be bleeding of edges, etc. So make sure that you're aware of some of those considerations. Check the instructions around what you're printing on. There's rules around that for different conferences as well. if you're getting it printed, some conferences will print it for you, others you have to do it yourself. Just check the delivery times and some of those sorts of things. I've had researchers panic call me, sort of saying, I'm jumping on a plane tomorrow and my poster hasn't printed yet. What do I do? So don't leave it to the last minute with those kinds of things.
What do you do, Matt?
I say, I'm not a printing service. I got no idea what to do. Yeah.
Louise has given a tip that Louise, you want to say your tip?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you print it on the fabric and you're going on a plane, you can fold into your luggage and then just iron it back to front at the hotel.
I didn't know you could iron it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, tips.
That's a great one. Yep. And then next slide. So yeah, just a bit of a summary. I don't have an activity for us on this one. I was going to put a terrible poster up, but it was taking too long to put together a terrible poster. So just a bit of a summary. This is not your manuscript for your paper. This is a brief overview. This is a taste test, and oftentimes, this is the first time that you're obviously presenting this work, and it's out of the conversations that you have with people who stop by your poster that some of the ideas for what the final paper ends up being. This is sometimes the development of those. Someone will come and you'll have a chat, and there'll be that, oh, did you think about this, etc. So that's always a useful opportunity, not just to get your work out there, but also get some first feedback on your work as well. And along those lines, even if it is a project that maybe you feel is a little bit underdone, that there's a relatively, I don't want to say no bar, but there's a relatively low bar for getting, say a poster out there in a conference. And one of the hesitations, I think, in chatting with clinicians that I'm supporting around the HHS is they just don't think their work is ready just yet to put in a conference. And my advice around that would be, just jump in, and this is the chance to give it a try, and start to talk about your work and start to build those networks. And even if the project has some flaws, then it just run with it. It's never going to be exactly where you need it necessarily. Other things that I wanted to summarize here. We talked about clarity, we talked about fonts and colors, some of the size requirements, just that organization, the leaning heavily on the figures and images. Tables can be a bit of a pitfall as well. If you can, try and go figures rather than tables. Go light on the references. 5 to 10 is probably a good place to be. You don't want to, again, this isn't your full manuscript. You don't want to be presenting an enormous reference list. And yeah, just try and find that balance between brevity and punchiness and getting the content in there. Next slide. And just a plug for me and for Meg, and I'm sure for other HHSs around there. We're not going to do your poster for you, but we can certainly provide some advice and some templates and various things like that. Next slide. And another important plug as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the fact that if you're sharing data that is patient data or staff input data or models of care or something that you've collected, make sure that you've got the correct approvals if it is going outside of for those of us who are Queensland Health. If it's going outside of Queensland Health, if it's a research project, obviously you will have ethics approval already. You wouldn't have started the project without that. If it's QA, then it might be a case of just seeking ethics exemption. Again, get in touch with your research support office if there's some questions about exactly what that entails for your particular site. But yeah, the sharing of even quality improvement style projects outside of Queensland Health will just require some of these sorts of processes, and they're not necessarily in depth, but we just need to make sure that we go down that route. And I believe that is the last slide that I have.
References.
I've got some references here, some helpful links, and acknowledgement there to, again, Kath up in Cairns, who I've stolen most of her content for this one. She shared it with me. You don't have to dog me in. Yeah, if there's any questions, I'm sure Ray or I or Meg would be happy to take them.
Matt, are you okay for me to distribute these slides to the people who have attended today?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool, thanks, mate. Okay, I want to hear about the people who are intending to submit an abstract. And what are you intending to submit it for? Tell me about that. Matassa, why are you here today? Apart from general good fun and learning.
That's exactly what I'm here for. Fun and learning, but
Fun and
we did an abstract for COSA, Amy Brown and I, and it was quite successful. But I just wanted to see it all broken down. We kind of had to get it not rushed, but within that word limit, within the being specific what we want in the results, to actually show what the data was. Obviously, they had an external research assistant come in and do it, and to collect the data and whatnot. But then why not access the First Nations research coordinator in the space that's already has that I guess access to IMR and stuff like that. So it just made someone already internal to be able to access those patients and increase the recruitment in First Nations people in the oncology space, and it ended up being quite successful in increasing numbers by threefold. But yeah, we got to present that down. We were successful for our presentation. I was hoping for just a poster, so that's why I was watching the poster a bit at the end. But yeah, it was like I said, it was a good learning experience, and we end up taking out like best of the best orals or something like that with the Melbourne crew. So it was quite powerful. I was still learning the ropes, like I said, still am now, but like I said, that's why I try to make myself available to these learning I guess sessions for myself. So anywhere where I can pick up templates or I guess, yeah. So I'll shut up now, but I'll let someone else continue. Yeah.
No, that's great. And I'll share the slides and you'll have all those hyperlinks and things like that and all those tips. So that's really excellent. Karina, have you got anything to add today?
Yes, thank you so much for such a great presentation. It was really interesting. I work as a research coordinator, and so I guess a lot of the work I do is supporting therapists to do their first research projects and quality improvement and hopefully then present it. So
where are you from, Karina?
I'm from the Royal Brisbane.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, I'm an occupational therapist by background. So yes. And yeah, so that was pretty much why I was here, was really just to get some tips on how other people go through that process.
Excellent, thanks. Tracy? Oh, you're on mute, Trace. I do that.
Sorry, normally when I pull this down, it works. It didn't today. I'm just here to learn, and I've put in, we've done 4 abstracts this year for 3 different conferences and been successful for all of them. So now I'm starting to make sure we're doing the posters and so forth and all that. So for me, it was just getting some tips and making sure. I did present a poster last year and was successful and won best poster at the conference. So that was really rewarding. So it's now just making sure that I'm staying on track with what's new and so forth. So yeah, just
Nice.
updating my education.
Matt, we should have gotten some of these ones too to show people.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, you know, Tracy, if you won Best Poster, so I presented a poster last month and I didn't win Best Poster. So maybe you should have been running the session today.
Nope. I just have great supervisors that guide me really, really well.
I'm just going to do one thing before everybody goes, if that's okay. I'm just gonna plug this. Okay, if you're looking for somewhere to present an abstract, to submit an abstract for, and hope for a poster, this is of a conference that's happening in your backyard at the end of the year. Now, it's an implementation science conference. Now, for those of you who don't know the phrase implementation science, a lot of us in the health organizations do what we call research translation, right? So you're changing models of care, you're doing things that are a little bit different, you're taking something that doesn't work, you found something that looks like it might work, and you're implementing it. So that's the research translation pathway, right? So this conference is happening at the end of the year and abstracts are open now, and that is the abstract submission portal. So if you just Google the ISHCA 2026 conference, you'll find it. But if any of you are doing new models of care or anything like that, we'd really like you to submit your abstracts, okay, for this conference. There's my plug. Anybody have any questions about it? And TAAHC might be having bursaries for people to attend. Maybe. Not that I can say anything, of course. Okay.
I heard it here first, hey?
No, you didn't hear anything at all here.
Oh, no, okay.
You certainly don't want to be compete against everybody else, right? You heard nothing. I said absolutely nothing. Oh, it's recorded. I'll have to cut that bit out. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Great presentation. I learned all about capitals and in cases. I learned about the positioning. I really liked that graph with the positioning on it. From Lisa, I learned about how to present in teams. Like, you know, there's a button up there. Never seen that before. I learned that. From Catherine, I learned that Comic Sans was indeed a crime. And, you know, you can't really fault that. And I did learn from Louise that you could iron a poster. Never done that before either. So thanks heaps, everyone. See you later. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ray.